Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So as promised, what I'm doing in today's video is a long-awaited review of an album which I bought recently. So the project or band that I'm talking about, more a project really because it's one person, is PSUCHAGOGOI. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, maybe not, but that band name actually means evocators of souls, and you may have heard me talk about this project in previous videos when I talked about this album entitled Under a Green Light, which I got a couple of years ago. Brilliant album. I'll mention the style more in a moment. But if you're not familiar, this project recently released an EP entitled Landscape Shifter. So this is the item that I'm going to be reviewing and unboxing today. So I've tried my best to make it a live unboxing, but I admit I have taken the record out and listened to it, obviously. But in terms of showing the contents, that's going to be live. So here we are live in the studio. So PSUCHAGOGOI, if you're not familiar, is a one-person project from the UK. It's performed by an entity known as Cryptogeist, which I believe is a woman. I think in the past I mistakenly referred to Cryptogeist as a man, but I just wasn't aware of the gender. But anyway, that's irrelevant. The fact is, this is just a brilliant project. So yeah, Cryptogeist performs all instruments and vocals with this project. So if you're not familiar, I'm just going to go into the history of this group in a sense. So this particular album anyway has been described by Cryptogeist as fantasy synth. I think that's a very fitting description. To me, you might be asking, what does that mean exactly? But when I listen to it, the definition of that to me, it's like a blend of dark ambient, dungeon synth, fantasy music, and some elements of black metal. So on other albums that she's done, you can definitely hear black metal vocals and guitars. They're less emphasized on this particular album, but that's the thing. They always encompass a certain number of themes and emotions, but just different albums place more emphasis on different atmospheres and emotions. So I also picked up, apart from this one, Under a Green Light, I recently got digital copies of the first couple of albums, the Ominous Forest demo and also Hexagonal Cemeteries, which are brilliant. Unfortunately, they were only available on tape and have sold out, but you can still buy digital copies, as I did recently, and it was definitely worth it. The demo Ominous Forest, that was sort of like piano and synth music with dark ambient, but it did incorporate some black metal elements quite a bit. And then Hexagonal Cemeteries was more sort of dark, evil and sinister. It was very much a paranormal, dark ambient album, very similar to Aghast, the project from Norway/Germany, and that album Hexerei und Zwielicht der Finsternis. So that was a lot more minimalist with some melancholic elements, and this one was a lot more sort of wondrous and atmospheric. So then we come to this new EP, Landscape Shifter, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm just going to take it out. I'll just take the cover up so you can see it a bit better. Yeah, so talking about this particular EP, again, it's a different atmosphere on this release. I can see that there's a change or a development in the music, in the sense that this album sees a move towards more melodic instrumentation and orchestration, at least in my opinion. So it's not as minimalist as previous releases, for example, as Hexagonal Cemeteries, but that's good because there's a variety of atmosphere on each album. Yeah, on this particular EP, there's more of a tune in some of the songs, although some of it still remains pure dark ambient. But honestly, I think the orchestration on this release is excellent. And just showing you the back here. Yeah, the production on this album is absolutely brilliant. It's very deep and rich with multiple layers of sound, which can be heard very clearly. Maybe this is coupled with the fact that the vinyl just sounds so good. And you know, vinyl always does in general. You can hear the different layers of sound, whereas on a CD it's all compressed. But I think Victims of Fate, who released this particular EP, just did a brilliant job with the vinyl. So yeah, the production is excellent and this album is more melodic. So yes, it's fantasy synth, and I'm just going to give a brief description of each track. There's only 7 tracks, and I know I have the tendency to be a bit convoluted, but that's my style, so sorry. But yeah, the album opens with track 1, Ethereal Encounter, that's the name. So that's kind of a minimalist piano riff, which sounds melancholic, but with a tinge of happiness and hope. Overall, it's still quite sorrowful though. And the piano riff, or the sequences on that song sound similar to the ones you hear on Burzum's album Dowdy Balders. So, you know, those kind of repetitive trancey piano arrangements, they're heard on this particular song, or track I should say. But then in addition to the minimalist piano arrangement, then some rich layering of synths and sound effects is added over the top. And I would say that the mood is a mixture of wondrous, enchanting, and the feeling of trepidation slowly creeps in. Then we've got track 2, which is entitled Beneath Iridescent Woodlands Canopy. That's a haunting dark ambient track. It features some scary and eerie synth arrangements with sounds of the birds of the night, like owls, you know, the twittering of birds. And while it's minimalist, it's also very dark and terrifying. It then also shifts into some minimalist organ arrangements similar to Mortis. And after this, some deep growled dark vocals are added to the dark ambience. The tone on this track is increasingly unsettling and disturbing. And then the vocals shift into a wicked sounding rasp. The synth arrangements become more frantic and urgent, intensifying this, and then you can hear more animal and bird sounds like the cawing and screeching of crows, maybe. And then the deep growls and effects towards the end are reminiscent of the vocals on Beherit's Electric Doom Synthesis album, and that's definitely a good thing for me. Then track 3, entitled The Forest Awakens. This consists of some more eerie synth effects, which is maybe a little bit reminiscent of the one-man Tasmanian project Streborg, at least from the early days. And the rich synth sound on that track makes you feel completely immersed in a dark fantasy world. And it sort of conjures images to me of, imagine you're walking in the night over hills and you can see some cabins in the distance, maybe with some flickering lights or lanterns, something like that. So yeah, very sort of atmospheric, and it invokes a particular mood. Then track 4, entitled Procession of the Early Autumn Spirits. This one starts off sounding really enchanting and uplifting, like the dawn of a new day or gazing in awe at the wonder of nature. But there are still some really icy and majestic synths with dark background melodies. And actually the synth sound on this track, track 4, it's very reminiscent of the synths used in Horner's Orno Regnum Satanas track, you know, where it just keeps building, you know, that really eerie, repetitive, but enchanting synth outro on that song. So yeah, this track 4, it invokes a really ethereal atmosphere, and the track intensifies as the volume and the faint percussion are added. There are some kind of happy melodies constantly going, but there's always some unsettling underlying synths in this track. So I think this track would fit very well with a fantasy world sort of setting or nature. And some of the keyboard melodies towards the end of this track have an almost Far East Asian sound. So this track, it's kind of a feeling, it provides a kind of feeling of light relief in contrast to the darkness which is featured so far on the album. Okay, so then we go over to side B. That starts with Night on Wizard's Mountain, Night on Wizard's Mountain or Night on the Wizard's Mountain. This is a brilliant track. It's ominous, eerie, and wondrous, very dark ambient. And it also contains some bell and xylophone sounding melodies. So it's melodic, but also dark and enchanting. So fantastic track. And then we go into track 6, entitled Luminous Spheres. This is enchanting and wondrous, like the soundtrack to walking through a lush forest, perhaps. Then it becomes dark and foreboding. You can hear melancholic bell chimes and sort of tinkling sounds with those bells, so it's really enchanting. And actually the synth tone and some of the melodies sound a bit similar to the tracks or sounds featured on Burzum's album Hlidskjalf, you know, the second Jail album that he did, which was very atmospheric. However, on this track, I'd say that the sound quality is much better, so that's a great track. And then probably my favorite track on the entire EP is the last one, entitled Woodlands of Sadness. This is an eerie, slow synth track with some piercing effects. It's very dark ambient. It sounds a bit like Aghast, but also like Lull, the dark ambient project Lull by Mick Harris from Napalm Death, with all its drone effects. So it's very minimalist, but frightening and unsettling. And the layers of sound continue to be added, so the track keeps building in volume and atmosphere and getting more and more unsettling. And then a minimalist and haunting piano note sequence is added at the end, so it ends on that dark, foreboding tone. So Sorry guys if my description was too detailed, but you know me, I can't help myself when it comes to music that I feel passionate about, so thanks for your patience. So in short, this is a brilliant album, and this album takes you on an epic journey through fantasy worlds, wonder and nature, and also through the depths of darkness, and then out again. So it really is an epic soundscape journey and absolutely fantastic. So who would I recommend this to? I'd say if you like any of the following projects or a combination of them, you will probably love this EP. So I can hear influences from Aghast, Mortis, Neptune Towers, Burzum, only the Jailhouse Rock albums, you know, the first two Jail albums from Burzum, Lull, the electronic era from Beherit, and also Streborg, and in addition to that, Zaster, which was a major influence on this project in general. And as I mentioned before, also the synth sound sometimes reminds me of that used in Horner, particularly on that track, Ordo Regnum Satanas. This was released by Victims of Fate, a Polish label, and they were actually really good. I'm based in Asia. I ordered this and it came to me in about a week and a half, so very efficient delivery service. And just show you the actual product itself. So back cover, front cover, and since it's a live unboxing, I'll show you each and every component. So a lot of goodies contained in here. Okay, so it includes a ton of stuff. So we've got these flyers and posters, you know, featuring new releases from Victims of Fate. Yep, so tons of stuff being released on this label. And if you like black metal and dark ambient, this label is for you for sure, just based on these flyers that I'm seeing. Yep, and it also comes with a Victims of Fate sticker in black and also one in white, which is cool. And look at this, also a PSUCHAGOGOI patch and two badges. So one is of the band and one is of Victims of Fate, and you can see that my copy was 26 of 100. And finally, you can see the actual vinyl itself, Victims of Fate label there and here, and it's released on this beautiful kind of dark green, apple green vinyl. And incidentally, it's very similar to the color of my Broken Hope Swamped in Gore vinyl, although the music is obviously very different. So yeah, in my opinion, this project, I should say, absolutely never disappoints. Just brilliant atmospheric music, which takes you into a dark fantasy world. It's brilliant. And this is a lead up to the new album, which is coming out, and I can't wait for that. Also, one last mention, it comes with a Victims of Fate poster. Awesome. And I haven't looked at any of these, by the way. Okay. And inner sleeve, so picture of Cryptogeist and some credits there. And yeah, this looks like an awesome poster. Oh, wow. Yep, so massive poster and some words on the back. So, I think there's some lyrics from Beneath Iridescent Woodlands Canopy. Yeah, but amazing poster, amazing contents. So yeah, guys, I won't take up any more of your time. All I'll say is I strongly recommend that you check this out if you like dark ambient or dungeon synth or atmospheric music. Yeah, brilliant. So that's PSUCHAGOGOI with Landscape Shifter. Also, in the description, I'll leave links to PSUCHAGOGOI's Bandcamp and also the Victims of Fate website, where if you're interested, you can actually order this as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm not sure when I'll be back next because I have a few things coming up, but if I don't see you before the new year, enjoy your Christmas and New Year's break, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.